that it doesn't clip. Up next, Folly Ghost from the No Shade crew, coming at us with some sick tracks, baile funk knowledge, and some tea.
The dash.
Doido nem me viu.
Cousins are crazy, my cousins like boogie.
Doido nem me viu.
Been here for 10, but I feel like a rookie.
Doido nem me viu.
Booked for 3 years, man, you can't even book me.
Doido nem me viu.
The dash is digi, the schedule busy. My head in a hoodie, my shorty a goodie. My cousins are crazy, my cousins like boogie. Life is amazing, it is what it should be. Been here for 10, but I feel like a rookie. I tell her look up, cause it's snowing in Tussies. Booked for 3 years, man, you can't even book me. It's me and Lil Baby, going crazy. Weezy produced it, and Weezy have paid me. And she held it down, so she got a Mercedes. Your money records, the Army, the Navy. It ran me 10,000, I do it like Brady. The foreign is yellow like Tracy and Katie. I trust in my they never betray me. Met all these they sweeter than Sadie. When I started out, I just took what they gave me.
New whip, got no keys. Taking my clothes, no starch, please. Soon as I you can go, leave. Got M's in the bank like yes, indeed. Cartier glasses, I won't even peek at you. Yellow Ferrari like Pikachu. I got him waiting and watching what he gon' do. Tryna pee what I do, tryna steal my moves. Brand new whip, got no keys. Taking my clothes, no starch, please. Soon as I you can go, leave. Got M's in the bank like yes, indeed. Cartier glasses, I won't even peek at you. Yellow Ferrari like Pikachu. I got him waiting and watching what he gon' do. Tryna pee what I do, tryna steal my moves.
Hoje os cachorrão de raça pega as cadelas no
Cartier glasses, I won't even peek at you. Yellow Ferrari like Pikachu.
Hoje os cachorrão de raça pega as cadelas no
I got him waiting and watching what he gon' do. Tryna pee what I do, tryna steal my moves.
Se tem baile eu fico louco, louco e doido nem me viu. Se tem baile eu fico louco, louco e doido nem me viu. Putaria nessa porra, puta que pariu. Se tem baile eu fico louco e doido nem me viu. Se tem baile eu fico louco e doido nem me viu. Rendeu fio, rendeu fio. Se tem baile eu fico louco e doido nem me viu. Rendeu fio, rendeu fio.
Brand new whip, got no keys. Taking my clothes, no starch, please. Soon as I you can go, leave. Got M's in the bank like yes, indeed. Cartier glasses, I won't even peek at you. Yellow Ferrari like Pikachu. I got him waiting and watching what he gon' do. Tryna pee what I do, tryna steal my moves. Brand new whip, got no keys. Taking my clothes, no starch, please. Soon as I you can go, leave. Got M's in the bank like yes, indeed. Cartier glasses, I won't even peek at you. Yellow Ferrari like Pikachu. I got him waiting and watching what he gon' do. Tryna pee what I do, tryna steal my moves. Got M's in the bank like yes, indeed. Got M's in the bank like yes, indeed.
Numa loja na cidade eu fui comprar um fogão, mas me assustei com o preço e fiquei sem solução. Eu queria o fogão quando ia desistir. Um amigo me indicou a feira de Acari. Ele disse que na feira, pelo preço de um bujão, eu comprava a geladeira, as panelas e o fogão. Tudo isso tu encontra numa rua logo ali. É molinho de achar, é lá na feira de Acari. É sim, lá em 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 Acari. Lá existe um barraqueiro que atende por mané. Ele vende muita coisa, sempre tem o que tu quer. A barraca é muito grande, nela você sempre passa com merreca. Paga as pilhas e o rádio vai de graça. Tinha uma promoção na barraca do mané. Se alguém comprasse tudo, ele dava sua mulher. Tudo isso tu encontra numa rua logo ali. É molinho de achar, é lá na feira de Acari. É sim, lá em 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 Acari.
Esse é o momento pra mulher ficar safada. Esse é o momento pra mulher vir coriçada. Hoje a tropa que pode chamar e você vem rebolando safada. Taca tcheca, tcheca, taca, taca xereca na pique do pai. Taca tcheca, tcheca, taca, taca tcheca, tcheca. Taca tcheca, tcheca, taca, taca xereca na pique do pai. Taca tcheca, tcheca, taca, taca tcheca, tcheca. Taca tcheca, tcheca, taca, taca xereca na pique do pai. Esse é o momento pra mulher ficar safada. Esse é o momento pra mulher vir coriçada. Hoje a tropa que pode chamar e você vem rebolando safada. Taca tcheca, tcheca, taca, taca xereca na pique do para. Chega no para, ela via assustada. Perto dessa para dar se macia. Quando na via com o copo na mão, ela desce gostando, não dá da palhinha. Mas a via vem quicando sem dó. Perto dessa para dar safada. Taca tcheca, tcheca, taca, taca tcheca, tcheca. Taca tcheca, tcheca, taca, taca tcheca, tcheca. Oi, taca tcheca, tcheca, taca, taca tcheca. Taca tcheca, tcheca, taca, taca tcheca, tcheca. Oi, taca tcheca, tcheca, taca, taca xereca na pique.
palavras. Os meninos é ruim, é poucas 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 palavras. E a é ruim, é poucas palavras. Os meninos é ruim, é poucas palavras. Os meninos é ruim, é poucas palavras. Os meninos é ruim, é poucas palavras. E a é ruim, é poucas palavras. Toma, tapa, toma, toma, toma.
De Noia, o carro da biqueira tá passando na sua porta.
Bate o cu, quero ver bater o cu. Bate, batendo o cu. Bate, batendo o cu. Bate, batendo o cu. Bate, batendo o cu. Bate o cu, quero ver bater o cu. Bate o cu, quero ver bater o cu. Essa aqui é lançamento que o DJ que fez pra tu. Bate o cu, quero ver bater o cu. Quero ver bater o cu. Quero ver bater o cu. Bater no cu. Bater no cu. Bater no cu. Bate. Já lançaram a do cu duro e essa aqui eu fiz pra tu. Quero ver geral do baile, porra! Bater no cu, bate, bater no cu, bate, bater no cu. Bate o cu, quero ver bater o cu. Bate o cu, quero ver bater o cu. Essa aqui é lançamento que o DJ que fez pra tu. Bate o cu, quero ver bater o cu. Bate, bater no cu. Bate, bater no cu. Bate, bater no cu. Bate, bater no cu. Bate o cu, quero ver bater o cu. Bate o cu, quero ver bater o cu. Essa aqui é lançamento que o DJ que fez pra tu. Bate o cu, quero ver bater o cu. Quero ver bater o cu. Quero ver bater o cu. Quero bater o cu.
Tomar na buceta, tomar uma sopinha, 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 tomar na buceta, tomar uma sopinha.
Hoje o tempo tá bom pra pegar uma novinha que tá. Hoje o tempo tá bom pra pegar uma novinha, chupar um peitinho, tomar uma sopinha, comer uma buceta, tomar uma sopinha, comer um cozinho, tomar uma sopinha. É só isso que eu queria, chupar um peitinho, tomar uma sopinha, comer uma buceta, tomar uma sopinha, comer um cozinho, tomar uma sopinha. É só isso que eu queria.
Tá confusa, não sabe se vai com a xereca no chão ou xereca na pica. Tá confusa, não sabe se vai com a xereca no chão ou xereca na pica. Ela parada não fica, ela parada não fica. Tá confusa, não sabe se vai com a xereca no chão ou xereca na pica.
Chupar um peitinho, tomar uma sopinha, comer uma buceta, tomar uma sopinha, comer um cozinho, tomar uma sopinha. É só isso que eu queria. Chupar um peitinho, tomar uma sopinha, comer uma buceta, tomar uma sopinha, comer um cozinho, tomar uma sopinha. É só isso que eu queria. Chupar um peitinho, tomar uma sopinha, comer uma buceta, tomar uma sopinha, comer um cozinho, tomar uma sopinha. É só isso que eu queria.
Esse é o DJ Max, tomar uma sopinha, tomar na buceta, tomar uma sopinha, tomar na buceta,
aumenta o volume da putaria aí que o Alex chegou.
tomar uma sopinha, tomar na buceta, 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 tomar uma sopinha.
Hoje o tempo tá bom pra pegar uma novinha que tá. Hoje o tempo tá bom pra pegar uma novinha, chupar um peitinho, tomar uma sopinha, comer uma buceta, tomar uma sopinha, comer um cozinho, tomar uma sopinha. É só isso que eu queria. Chupar um peitinho, tomar uma sopinha, comer uma buceta, tomar uma sopinha, comer um cozinho, tomar uma sopinha. É só isso que eu queria.
Tá confusa, não sabe se vai com a xereca no chão ou xereca na pica. Tá confusa, não sabe se vai com a xereca no chão ou xereca na pica. Ela parada não fica, parada não fica. Tá confusa, não sabe se vai com a xereca no chão ou xereca na pica.
Chupar um peitinho, tomar uma sopinha, comer uma buceta, tomar uma sopinha, comer um cozinho, tomar uma sopinha. É só isso que eu queria. Chupar um peitinho, tomar uma sopinha, comer uma buceta, tomar uma sopinha, comer um cozinho, tomar uma sopinha. É só isso que eu queria. Chupar um peitinho, tomar uma sopinha, comer uma buceta, tomar uma sopinha, comer um cozinho, tomar uma sopinha. É só isso que eu queria.
Esse é o DJ Max, tomar uma sopinha, tomar na buceta, tomar uma sopinha, tomar na buceta,
aumenta o volume da putaria aí que o Alex chegou.
tomar uma sopinha, tomar na buceta, 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 tomar uma sopinha.
copão, baseado em bico verde. Tô de copão, baseado em bico verde. 12 não é mais baile, agora é rave. 12 não é mais baile, agora é rave. A ruinha não é mais baile, agora é rave. 17 não é mais baile, agora é rave. Hoje é dia de ruinha, hoje é dia de ruinha. Vou tacar, vou passar o pau em todas bucetinha. Hoje é dia de 12 do Silva, hoje é dia de 12 do Silva. Vou sarrar, vou passar o pau nessas cachorrinhas. Vou passar, vou sarrar o pau nessas cachorrinhas. Hoje tu arruma problema, hoje tu arruma problema. Eric Bernardo vai socar na tua buceta sem pena. Hoje tu arruma problema, hoje tu arruma problema. Salatinha é o que vai socar na tua buceta sem pena. 12 do Silva, Mandela.
porra nenhuma pra dormir, é rave, caralho. Vai se foder, hoje é domingo, porra.
Tô de copão, baseado em bico verde. Tô de copão, baseado em bico verde. 12 não é mais baile, agora é rave. 12 não é mais baile, agora é rave. A ruinha não é mais baile, agora é rave. 17 não é mais baile, agora é rave. Hoje é dia de ruinha, hoje é dia de ruinha. Vou tacar, vou passar o pau em todas. Hoje é dia de 12 do Silva, hoje é dia do 12 do Silva. Vou sarrar, vou passar o pau nessas cachorrinhas. Vou passar, vou sarrar o pau nessas cachorrinhas. Hoje tu arruma problema, hoje tu arruma problema. Eric Bernardo vai socar na tua buceta sem pena. Hoje tu arruma problema, hoje tu arruma problema. Salatinha é o que vai socar na tua buceta sem pena. 12 do Silva, Mandelão, só fumaça
fucking hoe. Colombia. You're such a fucking hoe. Colombia. You're such a fucking hoe. Colombia. Your boyfriend is the door. Colombia. You're such a fucking. I'm a sick fuck. I like the quick fuck. I'm a sick fuck. I like the quick fuck. I'm a sick fuck. I like the quick fuck. I'm a sick fuck. I like the quick fuck. I'm a sick fuck. I like the quick fuck. I like my dick stuck. I buy you a sick fuck. I buy you some new bitch. I get you the nip tuck. How you start a family? Kind of slipped up. I'm a sick fuck. I'm inappropriate. I like the damn girls. I like that hoe shit. I wanna hit most shit. I like the hoe shit. Send me some more shit. You tripping hoe bitch. Shit. You're such a fucking hoe. Colombia. You're such a fucking hoe. Colombia. You're such a fucking hoe. Colombia. Your boyfriend is the door. Colombia.
Hello, hello. This is Folly Ghost, and the mic is a little bit turned up. All right. So we're gonna talk a little bit about the history of baile funk tonight. Am I gonna have someone asking me questions, or should I chat? All right. All right. I'll chat away. So. Once upon a time, we did not have baile funk. I come from Rio, by the way, born and raised in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. I'm in Berlin for a year now, so I pretty much grew up very much involved in the culture of in the baile funk scene. My first album ever, like the first CD that I ever got, was actually Rap Brazil 1. It was like a collection, a series of like baile funk songs, and it was just like I was 9 years old. 9 years old, family. So yeah, it all began back in the 70s, more or less, but it kind of became a thing on the 80s when a couple of DJs from Rio started to gather around, and they got some vinyls abroad. With Miami bass and what you would call funk music. If you go to Brazil and you say, let's play some funk, nobody's gonna understand that that's James Brown. Baile funk is funk to Brazil. Personally, I think this was I wouldn't call it a mistake, but as soon as the genre became a thing, nobody decided to rename it, so we would just call it funk. So then, there you go. Carioca funk. Carioca is like whoever is from Rio, so it became Carioca funk. And when it became bigger in the 2000s, then the blogosphere kind of named it baile funk, which is like ball. But ball is not baile. Baile is baile. So yeah, those group of DJs used to gather around in this place called Carioca Street and exchange vinyls, buy vinyls. And it was in this genre of music, and a couple of them got some MPCs. They had no idea how to use it. The instructions were not in Portuguese. So what happened is that they just started using it the way that they thought it was supposed to be. So instead of like releasing the bass, releasing the vocals, so you would get to a refrain, as like music production, regular normative logic would tell you to do so, they just put a track in every one of the samples instead, like a full track on the samples, and started playing around. So that was more or less it's very debatable how it started, but like the way that we know Carioca funk, that's how it began. So a lot of things came afterwards. The rhythm that we call tambozão came from a drum machine, R8, so people started using that a little bit more. And this got a lot of attention from other countries, such as the US, when DJ Malboro and DJ Sunny Pitbull would go on tour in Europe. They would be asked, yo, how you do to use this? Like, how do I do this? I want to do this. So, like, they just, no, come on, you got to give me some lessons on that. Like, I don't know how to do that. So it was very interesting because before, those people didn't have any idea how to use MPC, so they found out a new way to use it, and it became such a thing that now they're actually like teaching other people how to do it. So that was quite interesting. And to this day, we're like almost 2020, you still have hip-hop artists from abroad abroad. I don't know. Can I say abroad if I'm based in Berlin? Coming to Brazil to learn that. So and at some point, well, did we like, are we stuck on this? What's the next best thing on funk? A lot of people were like, yeah, it's like the same beats all over again. And the focus was very much in Rio de Janeiro, and at some point it deviated to São Paulo. When that happened, there was a lot of subgenres started flowing around even before. São Paulo kind of like stole the spotlight for a little while, just a little. So it was created something that you would call ostentation funk. So it's pretty much if you have cash flowing out of your ears and you're not afraid to show it and you're really not ashamed of it and you got the green, then that's what the lyrics of funk ostentação is about. It's just like about flaunting wealth and being rich and having a really big car and swimming on big swimming pools, I guess. I don't know. It's not really my thing, to be honest, but I think musically it did give a boost into the baile funk scene. And in the 2000s, or perhaps in the late 90s, it was when it got international attentions. I think it was in early 2000s where the first baile funk track was featured in a European label. So then, what I think is very interesting that it became such a huge deal, and you have even academic essays about it. You have like PhD people studying the phenomena of funk. Like how did like a couple of folks just playing around with the MPC, not knowing how to read instruction Korean, did this? And it's because it's very sustainable. The culture that comes with it, the people who dance to the music, the dances that were created, the whole scene that revolved around it, it was completely sustainable. We never needed the foreign audience to give attention to us so the scene would continue, because that was the first entertainment choice if you lived on the suburbs, if you lived in the favelas of Rio. And because of that, this attention that was starting to, that the scene started to draw, soon the media started to associate that with drug trafficking, which at a certain extent is true, because you never had the government go into those marginalized places to offer health, to offer entertainment, to offer a court of sports, anything. They only go to the favela to shoot people, literally, to maintain security. So you grow up as a kid, your parents don't have any money, maybe there's, or very likely there's a history of abuse in your family. Perhaps you have a cousin or someone related or a really close friend that went into drug dealing because they didn't have any other opportunities. I mean, there's so many times that you can have your resume turned down and you know that you're overqualified to the job that you're asking, but you're not white, or you're from, it says on your resume that you're from the favela, so you just never get chosen. And even just, okay, so I never went to a private school. I mean, not me, but like people who never got certain chances get turned down, so they turn into this other life that puts you in a marginalized position. So, and if the state doesn't do anything for you, that's who you look up to the people who are, okay, are they drug dealers? Yes, but it's what I have available to play some sports. It's what people have available to have fun. So, unfortunately, the government, instead of taking those things and say, okay, drug dealing is bad, but providing entertainment to marginalized people is good. No, they're just like, no, the drug dealers did that, so let's destroy sports court that we never built for those people. So of course you're gonna look up to that life of crime or whatever, which is something very harmful in the long run. But if the state doesn't recognize it, it's gonna keep on being a thing. And what I would like to bring up today as well is that as you have the music industry being well, there is evil in pretty much anywhere you look, especially these days. So it's not different from the baile funk history. So we had a lot of producers, we had a couple of labels that would exploit the artists, that would make people who were like total hits, MCs that were like going insane, that were like driving people insane, sign contracts in English without even knowing how to read it, sometimes not even knowing how to read at all. So a lot of very talented people got exploited by that, and unfortunately, I have to say that keeps on happening. But I think it's very important to bring awareness to this matter. So if you are a DJ, if you play baile funk, if you like it, learn what's happening so you can properly support it. If you're making money out of playing baile funk tracks, why not understand what those people are going through so you can give back? Because if you're getting a fee from a gig that you're playing, why should, well, you do pay for a couple of tracks, or at least you should. Why don't you do that for the baile funk community? Because a lot of those people don't have a Bandcamp. A lot of the tracks that I play right now are in the lower quality because they do not exist. And that's very interesting because it doesn't even matter that they don't exist in a higher quality, because it just like makes the crowd pop the way it is, and it works, and that's what I find so beautiful about it. But you have to give something back. You cannot just take, and as a couple of artists also do, I'm not gonna name names here. I told you there was gonna be some tea, and I'm giving the tea. Yeah. I mean, you all know who they are, but you have like artists who go around on tours and they do these collaborations with marginalized people. There's a collaboration between Daisy Chigrona and Diplo. All right, I said it. And I mean, and she is what she does for work, what she does for a living is not being an MC. And I mean, her track with Diplo was heard in so many platforms, like millions of people heard it. It was played hundreds and bazillions of times in clubs. And what she does for a living is to collect trash. That's what she does, and that's what she did before, and that's what she still needs to keep doing in order to pay her rent, in order to put food on her plate every day. And I am very disappointed, and I mean, I have to bring awareness to this. Like, please do not build your career on going to marginalized countries and exploiting the local artists, and then you exploit the local scene. All of that beautiful culture, all that very interesting aspects that you're bringing to your work and your collaborations start being attributed to you instead of to that local scene. And that is harmful in ways that are unspeakable. This is like pretty much colonization rebranded. This is, I'm sorry, don't do it. It's bad. So I would like to use this space to bring awareness to that and to try to understand what's going on in there, and especially with the far-right governments advancing so hard in so many different countries. I mean, I cannot open Facebook without seeing a collection of, or even like any national or local newspaper without being very sad, because it's just like, you know, it's a bomb after another bomb in form of like headlines. To be honest, I feel like sometimes if we had like an enemy country that was actually in war with Brazil, it wouldn't, like, even if we did literally get bombs, it wouldn't be as harmful and we wouldn't get as many people killed as the own government does by doing whatever it's doing. So just look at the people, read the news, bring awareness so you can pay back. And so we can keep on producing these amazing tracks and keep on the good work. So everybody, you know, just shakes their asses like a rumble pack in the dance floor, like you should. It's pure logic, mathematical over there, right? Do we have any questions?
Hello. Hi everyone, is the speaker, this is on. Hi, this is Kike here. You may recognize my voice from channels like Boiler Room and Kashmir Radio. I have a question for our resident baile funk expert. So baile funk is traditionally associated with other art forms like reggaeton and like dancehall. And one of the things that's quite commonly associated in these art forms is the language and what the lyrics are saying. So the content of the lyrics. The content of the lyrics tend to be known for being quite vulgar, quite objectifying, quite raw. Do you think that this has any impact on the way on the fact that baile funk is so big in Brazil? For example, the way that people live their lives, and do you think it's a detriment to the art form, as a lot of people associate, for example, hip hop, talking about selling drugs, blah blah, talking about bitches and hoes. There's a lot of criticism around that. So do you think that that people should be critical of the lyrics of baile funk?
I think that people should be critical about the education system that you bring over to the favelas and to the community. It's not that those people went to private schools and had sex education, and no, those people are not exposed to a lot of information that they should be, and they grow up in an environment that's pretty much a parallel universe to what non-marginalized people think it's the regular. So how am I gonna judge someone who's singing about bitches and hoes if all he knew his entire life is he never had a reference on how to treat women. He never had a reference on anything. And I'm not taking accountability and responsibility from people, but you don't get to not give anyone education and then demand that people are well informed about something that the government blatantly failed to do. And also, I think it's very hypocritical. It's like, especially, it's very incoherent to if you take a look and we talk a lot about butts, assholes. I'm gonna use the word because I played it. It's just another language. Cunt, whatever, pussy. It's there. But if you look at Chico Buarque, which was one of the pioneers of samba, he has a lot of very sexist lyrics as well. You take a look at the Beatles. You take a look at so many very pop art, very popular artists all over, and they have the most sexist lyrics. But because those people, the marginalized people, don't have that politeness, don't have that whiteness, don't have, that high education. Because they talk about things as they are and as they see the world, they get judged on it. But the Beatles don't get judged on it. Why not? So either you judge everyone, but don't point fingers at the people from the favela who are throwing sick beats that you're using on your club. That's
you heard
the
it here
answer.
first. I'm sorry, that tea is hot, and amen. I have another question, unless there's anyone else who wants to ask questions with me hogging the mic. Okay. So do you think there's a lot of talk, particularly in marginalized communities, around appropriation versus appreciation? Do you think there is what do you think the lines are between appropriation of baile funk and the music and appreciation of baile funk and the music?
I think the first step is to be aware, to understand what those people are going through. So one of the people who was like a pioneer of the 150 BPM on the baile funk scene got arrested on ridiculous grounds in Rio, and then he escaped prison, and then he came back because he thought, I'm not living my life alone, because I can escape and I can live my life by myself. But what about my fans? What about my family? What about my friends? I want to be able to support them, and I'm not going to be able to do that if I just run away. So he came back to prison to support his community. How many people get to say that? That is so big, and that's like on grounds that are not even properly legal to have him arrested. So when I learned about this, and this was a little bit kind of a fuss in the Brazilian media, but I didn't see a single piece of article on any European or North American media channel. And that's very surprising because I cannot spend a single weekend without going to a club where I hear Renan da Penha's songs. So you play their music, but why you're not talking about his life? Why you're not pleading for his freedom?
Can you just repeat his name for everyone so they know and can do the research?
Renan da Penha.
Renan da Penha. Okay.
It's spelled with an R in the beginning because Brazilian pronunciation is a little different.
Another question. I'm just gonna this is not even questions. This is a conversation. You know, let it flow. Let it flow. So I think a lot of people, particularly who may not be watching this, who speak Portuguese, consume baile funk. And they're like, "Ooh, beat slaps, language sounds nice, like it's a vibe," but may not know about the content of what the language is saying. So, are there any songs or any artists or any times where you can remember where baile funk is political? So it talks about realities that involve political circumstances.
Definitely. So one of the iconic women from MCs from baile funk, Carol Bandida, which is like Carol the criminal. She was actually, MC Carol was here in Berlin a couple of months ago. Her concert was great. And she has a lot of very political lyrics saying that you shouldn't just bow down to men, because the reality of sexism in the favela is like quite different from what we know otherwise. So if you don't have, like, it's not like women are already subjuged, and I mean so much happens to women in like every space. So you can imagine in a space where the police is not welcome. They don't have anywhere to run, and sometimes a lot of people come from very religious or poor families, and girls are taught that they cannot do anything because of this sexist upbringing that they have. So they get a boyfriend, right? And if you get a boyfriend, then you start like hanging out with him, and then this girl starts to be able to see the world as she never seen before, because her family wouldn't allow, the society wouldn't allow, but like her boyfriend legitimates her to do a bunch of things that she couldn't before. So one of her options is to just, go live with him, get pregnant, because getting pregnant is gonna get, it's her ticket to freedom if you have an abusive family in the favela. So it's very hard to judge people on that. I'm sorry, what was your question?
It was the politicization of
yeah, and then she talks about how you should not bow down to men, how you're your own woman, how you can be independent, how you can come from the favela and do whatever you can, how you have ownership of your body, you can dress the way you want. And sometimes those things can feel or sound very basic to us, but in another context, it's very empowering. Apart from that, and even if you go to way back to that record that I told you about, my very first CD, Rap Brazil 1, you have a track that's called, it was a national hymn. If I sing that track with a group of friends, people are just gonna, and a choir is gonna come up. I swear to God, like, it happens. I've seen it happen. I witnessed it. And it talked about, oh my God, I have to sing it out loud to remember. Mas eu só quero ser feliz, andar tranquilamente na favela onde eu nasci. I just want to be happy. I want to be able to walk and chill in the favela that I was born, and poder me orgulhar e ser eternamente. Oh my God. To be proud of, to be able to be poor, to be able to be proud, to be able to exist, and not have to go through, to be checked by the police without no grounds, to be able to just go to the bakery, buy bread, and come back without someone pointing a gun to you just because you live in the favela.
Okay. And in this day and age of the internet, as the baby boomers like to refer to it, the internet and platforms like SoundCloud and even social media like Instagram and Facebook have allowed people to connect in ways that weren't possible before. It's unprecedented. And from at least what I've observed on platforms like SoundCloud, you're seeing producers from Brazil, from Rio, connecting with artists all around the world and being able to spread their sound throughout distribution streams that weren't possible before, reach audiences that weren't possible before. Previously, when it comes to the interconnection of people, it means that music evolves. Do you see baile funk evolving because of this interconnection, this global dialogue that's happening?
It already did, girl. It already did. So many tracks that I play here. I mean, there's like great labels. There's a label that I love in Portugal. It's like XX111, like 23. I think I played one track from Petit Piment from France, who also does like amazing mashups. And when I mix mashups together, it like becomes. I just love it. So I think this connects back to the question that you were asking. What about like what is appropriation? What is appreciation? And it's not that I want, baile funk just for the Brazilian community. It's not about that. I do enjoy listening to those things and I incorporate in my work like mashups and collaborations between foreign people who I admire. So yeah, it's happening.
Ooh. And with, obviously Brazil and like you mentioned, the rest of the world is going in a direction where I don't even know what's up, guys. Well, I don't know what's in your Kool-Aid, but I don't know where all these right-wing politicians are springing up from. Like, I don't know what's going on. Like, I feel like someone just needs to take like a long disco nap, wake up. It feels like the whole world's cranky. I don't know what's going on. But Bolsonaro and the politics of Brazil is something that's very present right now. And the plight of marginalized communities is at risk, or like the welfare of marginalized communities is at risk. Do you feel like or do you have an opinion or any insights on the way that the current right-wing government in Brazil is impacting baile funk today?
The imprisonment of Fernanda Penha, the persecution of very big bailes, very big balls, the destruction of entertainment areas that came from criminal factions that built it. Instead of like trying to end crime, they end the good things that those people brought up. And if you read their history, like a lot of people don't go into crime at this rate. Of course, there's gonna be some people who just like to be bad boys and bad girls, whatever. But whenever you push people so far, there's no other options. So you have like one of the heads of Brazilian mafia. He started doing it to get money to his son, and then he wanted to stop. He couldn't because he was so good at his job of like being a drug lord that if he quit, he was gonna die, or his son was gonna die. So he had to keep on doing it, and he did it pretty well.
So, I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm joking. I'm joking. Stay away from drugs, kids.
Yeah, so persecution, trying to forbid and criminalize even the own genre of baile funk to be played, and it's terrible because you say that, so for instance, Fernanda Penha was arrested because he told people who were drug dealers that the police was coming. The police coming to a favela is a hazardous situation, regardless if there are criminals around or not, because the police abuse is so insanely high that it's almost like, hey, a tornado is coming. I have to tell you about it, right? So it's the same thing. The police is coming. You have to tell people about it. So the thing is, he got framed. Hello? All right. So it's cool. So he got framed because of that, because he was telling to drug dealers, and this is like one of the many ways that the far-right government is persecuting those people.
Maybe just to end on a lighter note, um, who I'm gonna put you on the spot now. Who would you say are your top 3 ballet funk artists to watch, and why?
Bad System. I mean, it's more. She is a producer and DJ that works with a project called Linda Quebrada, which is a lot of different artists, dancers, and she was part of Boiler Room, and she's just playing everywhere. And oh my God, like most of my sets have a little track of her. She's just brilliant, so definitely she owns that first place. MC Kevin, who's already like super big, but he was also part of the Gaiola ball, the cage ball, Baile da Gaiola from Renan da Penha. And oh my God, his voice, the lyrics, everything, I love him. So MC Kevin. And okay, who should I give the third place to? No, I'm not gonna go to São Paulo. I'm not gonna tell about people.
Ooh, that's a rivalry I see. That geographical.
So, and I played. Oh, can I go back in history a little bit so people can do their research? So I played a track called Feira de Acari, which is the street market of Acari, from MC Batata as MC Potato, and it's one of my favorite baile funk tracks from ever. I mean, it has such a engaging bass, and it tells a lot of the story of the street market in Rio from Acari, that you literally find anything. So yeah, like homage to MC Potato.
Shout out to MC Patata.
Yeah.
And I guess final question for me, and unless anyone else has any other questions, how do you see the genre evolving? It's a big question, Things to the future. Get out your time machine.
I don't know. I mean, we just had this 150 BPM, and it started getting to a point that it's way less pop. It wasn't like you have a subgenre that's like pop funk, but now it just got faster because there was this MC and his kid was playing around with a bottle of Coke, and it would annoy him so much, and he couldn't do anything about it because the kid wouldn't stop for anything. So he sampled it and put it in
If life gives you lemons.
Exactly. He put it in a track, recorded it in 150 BPM, and regularly you just like play. Baile funk was 130, and it became a thing. MC Polyvox started a whole new scene with very high BPM, and it became like a thing in Rio. So I honestly don't know. A lot of the times that this happens, like I don't know what's gonna happen next, and then it's very surprising. Maybe, I mean, it's very club oriented, so I don't know.
Okay. I mean, I guess I'm just thinking about the different elements of it, because, for example, with ballroom, the voguing scene, you've always got that, like the ch or the da 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 da. And I guess with baile funk, what most people associate is the cha 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 cha. Are there any other like elements that you think are like synonymous with the baile funk sound?
Afrobeats can blend in very nicely as well. As you said, I do already incorporate a lot of voguing in ballroom into my sets, because it's just like it just makes sense. And even if you go and see people dancing in the bailes, there's a lot of voguing happening. The passinho, which is that dance like, the typical passinho dance. And if you go to a favela, they have their own dances. So she's from Jacaré because she's doing that passinho, and you know that I'm from another place because because the way that I move, the way that I dance. So it already relates in so many levels that's just not musically. But I think even rave music. I mean, future bass. I was like searching for recently vaporwave mixed with baile funk tracks, and I found a couple of things very
Nice.
interesting.
I mean, you were at the boiler room right, of Bad Sister, and that was
Of
when I
course I
first discovered techno braca or techno techno
Techno brega.
Breca. Okay, yeah. My mind was blown. I was like, what is this genre? I can't. Like what? Like this needs to be a bad kind. Like there's so many different ways of it evolving, right?
Yeah, it could definitely be. Actually, it is. So baile funk culture and music was very centered in the southeast, Rio, the axis, Rio, São Paulo, and now I think a lot of that answers your last question. There's coming up a lot of new tracks and a lot of new dances and a whole revolving culture from the north and the northeast. Techno brega is a genre that you typically hear in the north, and you have a very, very big sound system culture, and it's like those people who just have a lot of free time and I don't know, and just build the biggest sound system ever, and it's like a spaceship, but it's at the same time you would say that it's kind of rustic, but so blown up and so colorful, and I don't know, it's just incredible. And now those things are like coming together, and I think that's gonna be the next thing in the funk scene.
Hey, thank you for answering all my questions. I hope that helps some of the people on the stream too. You know a lot, right? Like the streets of Rio have taught you well. Yeah, that's all for me. Any of you guys have any questions?
What do you think of Sango and other instances processing the music of the scene?
What do you mean by processing?
Well, Sango obviously feeds from this, using it as his main stylistic device to sample this exact music. What can you vibe with this at all? Or do you know Sango?
Yes, Sango is a person of color. Sango is someone who traveled to Brazil, who talked to other artists. There's even I did talk about him a couple of weeks ago, even with a friend, and it was like, I don't know if I like him. I don't know how. What is his relationship to the local scene? And then this friend told me, yo, there's like this documentary, like he goes there, he talks to people, he actually like gives back to the scene, he put people in the spotlight, and that's something. Well, if you're giving back and if you're like doing amazing work, and then it like turns around, because now I'm Brazilian and I'm based in Berlin and I'm playing Sango's tracks on clubs sometimes. So yeah, I feel like this is more along the lines of appreciation than appropriation. And if we're gonna just like point fingers and call anything appropriation, nobody's gonna mix. Like it doesn't even make sense. Everyone can only be producers, and I mean, we're just gonna be very limited. So I'm not gonna tell you that I know everything about Sangu, but as far as I do, it's someone who is doing good work with it.
Cool, thanks. Another question from my end is still a bit abstract, but
you don't need to announce your questions. You can just ask me.
Okay, fair enough. So on one hand, you're obviously criticizing the content, the sexist content, for example, of the lyrics, and then criticizing that the whiteness around these ends is kind of holding us back from producing music using this strong language, while still having the same messages. Maybe you were referring to the Beatles. So what I'm wondering is, around these ends, music with strong language bumps in clubs and people know what they're singing about. Maybe not particularly with baile funk, but if you go to a ghetto tech rave or to a DJ Assault night or stuff like that, everyone understands what is being talked about. Still, yeah, everyone is having a good time, and I'm not trying to criticize that either. But just something that crossed my mind was, how would you think a baile funk rave in Brazil would span out, where they just had super wholesome lyrics? Would that bang at all?
Could. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to. Why do you want to whitewash baile funk Don't.
I'm just trying to think of that.
Don't do that. Don't. Like.
What Bylifunk?
I mean, there is so
Christian
okay.
Bylifunk a
I'm
thing?
gonna. There is such a thing as going too far. I don't remember the name of the MC, and even if I did, I wouldn't say his name because it's someone that deserves to be forgotten. That wrote up some lyrics on a song that literally said, it's called. I'm not gonna say. Uh, it's like, okay, I'm gonna translate it because then you cannot find it. It's like a chill group sex. And the lyrics say, invite some women, throw some drinks at her, throw your dick into her, push your dick into her, and then abandon her in the streets. And then people were like, all right, I'm down to talk about butts and whatnot, but this is literally like advocating for rape. This is rape culture, in a song. And he got a lot of backlash, and he disappeared. So we do draw a limit. You don't get to talk about, you don't get to pull out any bullshit just because you were born in the favela. People are gonna, push back.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So would you say there is a threshold? Earlier you were bigging up the more conscious side of Bylifunk as well, but for the club-oriented Bylifunk, would you say there's a threshold of grime or adult language that needs to be met so that the tune actually bangs in the club?
Nah.
Nah. So
nah,
you could
it depends
write
on
some wholesome tunes.
If it is like a club, like, for instance, sometimes I play at Festival Kreuzberg, which has like a very Brazilian audience, and there's a lot of kids, and the producer tells me, please don't play any of we call it like the forbiddens, the proibidão, because it's a family event. And at the same time that I don't agree to that, I play along, to be honest, because I'm not gonna decide on how, I cannot, just say how people should educate their children. It's not my place, but I don't think we should be limiting and censoring. This is censorship, That's exactly why this guy who wrote those lyrics gets pushback, and the other people can be super raw about their lyrics and not get pushback. Because one thing is being very candid to the reality that you live in, and the other thing is advocating for rape culture, advocating for sexism, and there's a lot of interpretations in the middle of that. So yeah.
I see. Yeah, that makes sense. I think that's it with questions from my end as well. Is there any more? Otherwise, no.
So, tiny announcement. If you're in Berlin right now, go to Grismühle. It's gonna be awesome. We got Question Mark. We have Armando, DJ Bad Puppy opening up. They were alumni from No Shade, and now we're bringing them to destroy the floor on Grismühle. And we're gonna have all stars. No stars. All shades. All shade. All the shades.
No stars. Honey DJ, Honey Jaws and Polly Mays are going back to back, and Orco is closing.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. So yeah, come through. Doors opened at midnight. The lineup is stacked from the beginning, so come early. Yeah, it's gonna be a good old time. We've even got a little installation. We're having a guest VJ come in. We have our resident VJ outside doing an installation for a project that we've got coming up at a very big gallery very, very soon. So keep your eyes watched. Keep your eyes peeled. Yeah, it's gonna be a good old time. I hope wear proper footwear, stretchy trousers because you'll be bending over quite a lot, and some deep squats.
And hold it up.
Yeah, come through.
And it's not just us saying, it's actually Resident Advisor's pick of the week, so just saying here.
Not too bad. Yeah, I think that wraps up today's sequence of streams as well. It has been a pleasure having you on, and I'm quite impressed of how this spanned out. That's why we spontaneously had an extended set of Folly Ghosts today. Thanks very much for coming in and giving us this insight. It was pretty inspirational.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, hope you're back soon.
Oui.